Hi, this is Katrina Velasco, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what I've learned this semester about technology in EDSE 241. Um, I'm looking down at my notes if you see me looking down. Um, so, this semester I've learned a lot about technology, and I've had things I already know reinforced. Um, I'm pretty tech literate, but I did learn a lot of things. I think that technology is a great tool to help students and students with disabilities in particular. Uh, it's also important for students to be tech literate in order to be successful in school. I teach middle school, so in high school and in college for them to be successful. Um, I think that technology really helps curriculum and it helps it helps make curriculum and text more accessible to students with disabilities. So I've learned a lot more about Google's tools. Like I was familiar, but I dug into them a little more. I've learned about how Google tools can help my students with their writing. I was familiar with things like spell check on docs, but moving beyond that and um, I've started giving my students feedback remotely on Google Docs, even if I'm not able to be in the room with them. My students are in a full inclusion um, middle school, so I'm not always able to be with them. But I do have my computer with me, so I can kind of check on what they're doing remotely and then answer questions or give feedback using the chat feature on Google Docs. And my students are all pretty familiar with Google Classroom and the Google app, so that's pretty effective for them. I've also learned more about how Classroom can help me collaborate with gen ed teachers. It can be a struggle to try and keep up with all my students in all their grade levels and subjects, but Google Classroom is extremely valuable in that. And I definitely feel more connected with the teachers who use Classroom versus the ones at my school who don't. I've learned more about how to get students not only listening to text but directions. I think can be really tricky for some of my students, and when assignments are on Classroom and on the Chromebooks, we have a one-to-one Chromebook program at my school. Students are able to listen to the directions and hear it again, whereas they wouldn't be able to do that if it were just paper or the teacher were just talking. And what's really great about that is that all students in the school, not just students with disabilities, but some gen ed students or ELLs will use these tools on the Chromebook. So it really helps to eliminate some of the stigma that my students might feel like in this inclusion environment, because everyone is just kind of doing their own thing on a Chromebook versus getting a special worksheet. Why do I get a different worksheet type of situation? I loved looking at some of the different options there are out there for text to speech, and I'm hoping to kind of explore more and see if there's a better one than the one that we currently use at my school. And text to speech is just something that my kids are very independent with, and it helps them tremendously in the classroom, and it helps the gen ed teachers as well, because if the Chromebook is reading to the students, then they don't have to do that themselves. I've also started looking more into audiobooks for for my students. We use a curriculum in our English language arts classrooms, and that includes class novels that are on grade level, and all of my students are reading below or far below grade level, so that can make ELA class a struggle for them. I found a lot of different clips on YouTube, and our school also has an Audible account. Because I'm a mild moderate teacher, I don't have much experience with AAC devices, so it was really enlightening for me to be able to learn more about them. I do occasionally sub for the Mod Severe class on my campus, and the past couple summers I've done extended school year for them, so I feel more prepared and more informed for those opportunities. I did a lot of things that I was already familiar with, like blogging and QR codes and websites. This is my first time recording a video to summarize what I'm learning, and it is a lot more tricky than I anticipated. But I'm glad for the opportunity. And another thing I did for the first time was create my own Google form. I filled them out many, many times, but I never made my own form. And I was really surprised by how simple it was to use. One thing that the course has really pushed my thinking on is phones in schools. At my prior school site, phones were a huge point of contention with the students, and they were such a huge problem. So when I came to my current school, I was very excited to hear that students are not allowed to use their phones and they turn their phones in at the beginning of the day. However, throughout this course, I've been looking at some of the other, like the ways that students can use phones in school and how engaging they can be, and I'm definitely curious about that. I don't know when I'll be able to explore that more because our students aren't allowed to use phones at my school, but I definitely see the potential it has. Other than that, that's all I have to say, and thank you so much.